Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet a balaclava or a ski mask. This one I made for my son. He likes to hunt, and I thought I would do it in a camouflage color so that he can wear it on his hunting trips. This is a very versatile pattern. It can be rolled up and made into a cap or rolled down to cover the lower part of the face and just keep the eyes exposed. I found this pattern on the Yarnspirations website. Let me share it with you here. I'll link it in the description box below. I did make a couple of changes to it. The back seam, for example, I crocheted together using a slip stitch rather than the instructions say to sew it. And the method that I used to pull the top together, I think, is kind of handy too, and I'll share that with you. Anyway, I am going to use a different yarn as I do this demonstration because I think that this is going to be really kind of hard to see. Not because it's camo, but it's kind of dark, and filming it will make it kind of difficult for you to see the stitches. So what I have is my handy dandy scale. I like to use my scale to make sure that whatever yarn I have is going to be enough for my project. So this particular hat weighs about 156, 157 grams. I don't know if you can see that on the camera there. This is just a food scale that I use. And I want to be a little frugal and use some of the yarn scraps that I have for the demonstration. I thought that this gray color would probably show up good on the screen. So I want to weigh it to make sure that I'll have enough of this yarn to make a hat. And this says I only have about 107 grams. So I think what I'll do then is just make a smaller version of this particular hat for this demonstration. So another tip I wanted to share with you is something that I use to help me keep track of my crocheting. What I like to do is take my pattern and put it in a plastic sleeve, and then I can use a dry erase marker and I can follow along the pattern, and as I finish rows, kind of check them off, or I can even circle my numbers if it's not a color-coded pattern or you don't have colored ink, for instance. You can go through the pattern and just mark your stitches without wrecking the original pattern, because I know I'll want to use this again. And these will just erase off and you're good to go to use it again. Okay guys, so slight change in plans. I took the Balaclava over to my son and he loved it, but he asked if I could make something that has like hunter orange in it, because apparently when you're hunting you have to have a certain, I don't know, amount of orange on. So he thought maybe making another one in orange would be a great idea. He didn't like my idea of me just attaching an orange pom-pom to the top of the first one. So, and he also asked if it could be made a little longer. I thought it looked a little short too. So he says about 3 inches to the length would be perfect. So I'm going to, the instructions say to chain 59. I'm going to chain that 59, and then I'm going to add however many more it takes to make 3 inches, and I'll let you know what that number is in case you want a longer one as well. This is a 6mm or size J hook. The instructions call for an I hook or a size 9, but I tend to be a very tight crocheter, so I am going up a hook size just so that my stitches are going to be a little looser using the larger hook. So you'll begin this by creating your chain. Okay, so my chain of 59 is right about 15 inches. So I'm going to chain to 18 inches, and I'll let you know how many chains total I have. Okay, so that worked out real conveniently. I wound up adding 10 more chains. So in my pattern, wherever it says 59 or 58, I'm just going to add 10 to that number. All right, so once you have your chain, and again, I have 69 chains, I'm going to turn my work over, and I'm going to place a single crochet into each of the back loops on my chain. Well, I should say back bumps. this is considered the back loop here when you are looking at your chain. If you turn it over, you see these little bumps. You can put your work into these bumps and it'll give you a nicer finished edge. So I'm going into the second chain from my hook, 1, 2, turn my work over, and I'm going to place a single crochet into this back bump. And I'm going to continue that all the way down the chain so that I should have 68 single crochets. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of my chain. I've just got a couple more single crochets to the end. And when I get to the end, I'm going to turn my work and chain 1. Before I do that though, I want to mark this side so that I'll know the difference between my right and wrong sides of my work as I'm working. And of course, I don't have a stitch marker handy. So, 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to just put this stitch marker in the bottom of my work here on this side so that as I'm working and I'll be turning my work here and there, I'll be able to tell which is the right side of my work or the correct side of my work. Another clue is that your tail will be on your left, but sometimes that's hard to remember, so this will just make it obvious. So I came to the end of my row, I'm chaining 1 and turning my work. Now in the first chain, I'm going to make a slip stitch in the back loop. We're going to be doing all of our work into the back loops of our chain or single crochets here. When you turn your work over, you'll be able to see these V's that your stitches make. There's a front and a back loop for your V's, and we're going to be working into the back loop on each of these stitches. So into the first chain, I'm going to make a slip stitch. So I'm just pulling my hook through like that, and then I'm going into the next stitch to do a back loop single crochet. I'm putting my work into the back loop, or my hook into the back loop, pulling it through, yarn over, pull through. The next back loop, I'm putting my hook into, yarning over, pulling it through, and then continuing all the way down to the end, making a single crochet into the back loop of each of the single crochets in the row below. So this is row 2. I'll meet you at the end. As you come to the last couple of stitches here, you need to leave the slip stitch and 1 stitch unworked. Okay, so you see I'm leaving this stitch unworked, and this was our slip stitch. When I made this pattern the first time, I kind of struggled to figure out how to read the pattern and understand what they were saying, but this is the trick, okay? So just leave these 2 stitches here unworked. So we're going to chain 1, turn the work, and on this end, we're always going to start with a slip stitch so that we start working that angle up this way. So into this first stitch, I'm going into the back loop and making a slip stitch, and then I will continue all the way to the end doing back loop only single crochets. And let me show you what we're starting to create here. You see how we're getting the step up, we're kind of making steps. So here's my little notepad. I always have a notepad close by while I'm doing this because I think it makes it a little easier to remember where you're at if I could just find my pen now. Oh, it's been a while since I've made a video. It's kind of obvious, I guess, because I'm not very organized here, but I'll just show you with this then. So it's going to look kind of like this as we're working, and then when we get to a certain level, then we're going to start joining these and we're going to end up looking like a little curve. So stick around and you will see. what I mean, I am going to continue on all the way to the end here with my back loop only single crochets. Then I'm going to chain one, come around all the way to this end again, and as I get to this end, I'll get back with you so you can see how we're going to create the next step. All right, so here is, whoopsie, kind of twisting on me, my end. I'm going to be making my back loop single crochets all the way down, and when I get to the end, I want to leave this slip stitch and this last single crochet unworked, okay? On this row, we just chain one and continue into the back loop of each stitch with our single crochet. We will stop short at the end. So we'll have one unworked single crochet and our slip stitch. As I get closer to the end, I'll get back with you and check in. Alrighty, coming up on the end here, and I'm leaving my slip stitch and my last single crochet unworked, chaining one, turning my work, and I will do single crochets all the way to the end, chain one, and come back. Each row I'm stopping short 2 stitches, so I'm going to be decreasing my each row by 2. And I am going to leave this slip stitch and this last single crochet unworked, chaining one. Okay, see my steps I've got coming on here. Turning my work. I'm going to back loop, slip stitch, and then continue with my slip stitch, or sorry, my back loop, single crochets all the way back. I really love the way this particular pattern by crocheting into the back loops gives you this ridge or ribbed look. I think it looks a lot like knitting. I love the way knitting looks, but I've just never been able to pick up knitting. So I'm really pleased with being able to crochet something that ends up looking like I knitted it. So, okay, so I am coming up on the very last row in this section. So this will be our repeat for the next section. We're going to be just repeating the same exact thing as we've just done. So on this final row, we're going to come all the way to the end, and then we're going to start connecting these corners here to kind of bring them all together. To make sure that you've got enough rows for the count, you can count that you have 7 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so once you have 7 little steps here, you'll know that you have completed enough rows. So I'm coming all the way to the end on this row. Single crochet into the back loop only, and that's going to include our slip stitch that we made here. Okay, so now I'm going to step down to this row into the single crochet, and then I'm going to be creating another single crochet into that slip stitch. So I'm bringing my hook into the back loop, single crochet, and then into this slip stitch I'm going to create a single crochet. This could be kind of tricky. This yarn in particular likes to split a little bit, so there we go. And then going down to the next step into that single crochet, the back loop, creating a single crochet. And now into that slip stitch, I will do another single crochet. Next row, back loop into that, a single crochet, and then into that slip stitch, another single crochet. Step down into the back loop of that single crochet. We're creating one here, and into the slip stitch, another single crochet. So we're just creating single crochets as we're stepping down. If you follow my channel at all, you'll hear a noise in the background, this little tappy tap sound. That's my dog, Frida. She always decides it's dinner time when I'm filming. So she takes her food out and eats it one piece at a time and bats it around like a cat. So that's what you're hearing. Okay, so this last one, this is our slip stitch. I'm going to do a single crochet into it. Get the back of that. And chain one and turn. Now, you should have the same number across the top and down here as you have along your bottom that you began with. So remember that I modified this a little bit and I had 68 single crochets across here instead of 58 like the pattern calls for. So if I go back and count each of these single crochets, I should have 68. Alrighty, so I've chained up one, and I'm going to do a slip stitch into that first single crochet. We're just repeating the very same thing we did to create this wedge. So slip stitch into the first single crochet all the way across, chain one, turn my work, come all the way around and down, and I'm going to stop one single crochet and that slip stitch short. I'll show you once we get there. Okay, I'm really happy to report that I did in fact end up with my 68 stitches all the way across, and so that means that I did in fact do this correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and do my chain one, turn my work, and I'm going to repeat this whole thing that we did to create this first section. I'm going to be doing single crochets in the back loops only all the way across. When I get to the end here, I'm going to stop so that I have one stitch and that slip stitch remaining. Then I'll work my way back, come back, and again I'll stop at the next level. So I should have 7 steps coming up again, just like we did for this section, okay? I will meet you back. I'll check in a little bit, kind of make sure things are going well, and we'll just move on from there. I'm going to make my last one here because this will be my slip stitch and that will be my last single crochet. So I'm making my last back loop single crochet here, and that's creating my first step. Chain one, turn your work, and now I'm going to work my way back, remembering that whenever you're on the step side, your first stitch will be that slip stitch into the back loop of the first single crochet there, okay? So there's my slip stitch. Now I'm going to single crochet into the back loop of each stitch all the way back. Get to the end and chain one, turn, come back, stopping to make your step, slip stitching, single crocheting all the way back. So we'll do that until we have our wedge with 7 steps, okay? I will check in back with you when I'm there, and hopefully you are too if you're working along with me. Okay, you should have 7 steps, and we're going to start joining now. and we're going to do our single crochet into the back loop. Whoopsie. And we're going to pick up the slip stitch, single crochet, and then we're going to come down this step to that last single crochet. We're going to make our single crochet into the back loop, and then we're going to pick up that slip stitch with a single crochet, continuing on down each step until we get to the end. Start working our way back to create the forehead piece that stops at the eyebrow here. So we're making one of these pieces, again, a panel like this, but shorter. And we're going to do that twice. The same thing we did here, we're going to do again, but we're going to make it a little shorter. We're going to create the steps, and then we're going to join, and then come back, and then create steps. But we're not going to join that last time. I'll show you what I mean. This time, though, we're only going to make 6 steps. Here we did 7 steps, 7 steps. We're going to do 6, join, 6, don't join, okay? So I'm turning my work. I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet into the back loop only, 28 stitches, okay? So we're going to stop short to create that forehead piece. Okay, so I've got 28. Chain 1, turn my work, and then I'm coming back, but this time I'll just do 26 because I want to leave my last 2 stitches unworked. Then I'll come back and do 24, 22. Okay, I'll catch you back. Just finished my first section of the forehead piece. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bumps. I'm going to be working my way back and then connecting my steps or bumps the way we did for this panel. I'm very visual, so just by seeing this and counting my raised rows here, the ridges, I think that that might be the easiest way to go. That's why I keep pointing out that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm working on my 6th ridge here as I come by and then connect them all. Once I have them connected, I'm going to just repeat this whole section again, turning it and creating another set of 6 steps. Okay guys, so I am ready to finish off this first piece, and next we're going to work on the bottom and then coming up, and we're going to join these steps after we get the bottom and come up around. Okay, so leave this undone. To end this, I'm just going to give myself a decent tail. And we're going to add in a few more rows going this way. We're going to start though here at the corner where the forehead piece meets the side. So our first stitch is right here, and we're going to go into that back loop. We're going to bring our yarn through and join it here. All right, so I've joined my work in the corner, and what I want to do next is join my first 2 stitches with 1 single crochet. So to do that, I'm going to go into the back loop, pull my yarn through, go into the next single crochet the back loop, pull my yarn through so that I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, this is going to help give kind of like a curve to the corner of your mask. All right, so now I'm going to continue down all the way to the end at the neckline. I'm making my last back loop single crochet in that row, chaining 1, turning my work, and I'm going to come back up towards where I joined in my yarn here. When I get to the end, I'm going to stitch together or crochet together the last 2 of these stitches, okay? And I'll show you how to do that when we get there. I'm going to show you how to join these last 2 stitches. So let me get my last back loop single crochet in, and to join these last 2, it's just as simple as yarn over, pulling through, then yarning over, pulling through that next one so that I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to pull through all 3. Chain 1, turn my work, and then for row 3 I'm going to again join my first 2 stitches. So as I'm looking at my work here, my first stitch is going to be here and here. So I'm back loop, pulling through, next stitch, back loop, pulling through, 3 chains on my hook, or 3 loops, sorry, on my hook, and pulling through. Now I'm going to back loop single crochet all the way across, chain 1, come back, and for row 4 through row 16, I'm going to just keep on going back and forth, straight back and forth, okay? Alrighty, I'm finishing my last few back loop single crochets, and I'm going to increase by placing 2 back loop single crochets into my last single crochet. There's 1, 2, chain 1, turn my work. Now I'll be going back one more time, placing 2 back loop single crochets into my first stitch on my way back. 1, 2, and now just 1 back loop single crochet all the way across. Now we're going to back loop single crochet all the way up, and we're going to be joining our work here. Okay, so we're going to be closing in the hat on our way back. I'll place 2 back loop single crochets. There was 1. Let's see, here's 2. Now I'm going to pick up the other side, and I'm going to look for my first stitch, and I'm going to go into the back loop. That's my tail, get that out of the way. Bring my yarn through both pieces. You want to make sure it's a nice snug fit. And then you're just going to continue on with your back loop single crochets all the way. Just want to get that in snug there. Okay, I'm up to my steps, and I am going to just back loop single crochet all the way to the end. And then I'm going to make this step down here. I'm going to come into the back loop of the single crochet, and then I'm going to go into the slip stitch. Okay, now I'm going to step down again. back loop, single crochet, back to my slip stitch. Okay, so now you see I have kind of the flat edge here. That's going to be where we're going to gather at the top. Okay, so now what you're going to do is essentially you're going to start over again. Those two segments that we made to begin with, those two wedge shaped pieces, is what we're going to do again now on this side. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. You guys do it again too. If you need a reminder on how to do those first two pieces, just I'll put a chapter marker or some kind of marker here in the video to tell you where that time was, the time stamp, and you can go back and review. Essentially, we are just going to turn our work. We're going to create a slip stitch, back loop, single crochet all the way down, come up, come back this way. We're going to slip stitch, single back loop, single crochet, and back, and we're going to just kind of always stop just those two stitches short so that we create that step again. Okay, I will see you when you have the second part of your mask created, so that we'll then join the back, and we were almost done. Okay, so I have my second wedge added. I have my top up here, or this is where I finished off closing things up. Now what we're going to do is line up our work, and we're going to join all the way down. So the original pattern says to sew your seam up here the back using a needle and a whip stitch, but I prefer doing a slip stitch with my crochet hook and crocheting it together. So I think it just gave a better look. So I'll show you how I did that. So I'm going to line my work up, and I'm going to put my hook under the back loop and the front loop of each stitch, the corresponding stitch on the other side of my work. And then just pull it through as a slip stitch. Going down to the next stitch, back loop, the corresponding one, that would be the front loop there, pulling it through and slip stitching. Back loop of the next stitch, front loop of the corresponding stitch, slip stitch. So I'll do this all the way to the end, and that's going to give us, I think, a better seam in the back of your hat. Okie dokie, so I just went along the back side of my work and joined my two sides with a slip stitch. Now what I want to do is finish it off. So I'm going to cut myself a tail, and now I'm going to sew in my tail. So just take a darning needle, turn it kind of inside out here. You notice I have this other tail. I'm going to work on that as well, tucking that in. I'm just going to take my needle now and start working my thread in, or my yarn in through the back side of my work. All right, so I'm going to take my needle and just kind of work it in through the back of my stitches here. You want to make sure that you don't see it coming through the front side, because wherever the needle goes, your yarn goes. So you don't want any of this yarn poking through or peeking through. So I'm just going to kind of come up and down through my stitches here. A little ways up, and then I'm going to work my way back and probably back up again just to make sure that it is secured very well. All right, so up. Now I'm going to come back down again. And then back up. I'll keep my finger back behind here so I can make sure my needle's not poking through. Okay, so that's going to be pretty securely in there. Now I'm going to get rid of this tail and kind of even this up some. So I'm just bringing my needle in here and kind of pulling it a little bit to kind of help it fit together better with this side. All right, so just kind of wiggle around a little bit, and you can kind of even up your work so that it kind of fits a little more evenly and a little more smoothly across that way, okay? And with this tail, I'm going to do the same thing. All right, so let's talk about gathering up the top here. I'm going to take some yarn, pretty good size piece. Create a slip knot on my end, maybe make it a little longer. Okay. Now what I like to do to gather this in kind of evenly is to find a stitch. Go ahead and grab that slip knot there. Pull it taut. So I'm just bringing my needle under and around a couple of stitches. Now don't pull everything too tight yet because you're going to be doing that to cinch it in the end here. So I'm doing a little whip stitch here, just picking up the back loops of the stitches that I can identify. This is not pulling too tightly yet. And I've come around to where I first started. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull my end tight, and it should cinch everything up nice and tightly for me. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to bring my yarn in through the center of my hat, grab my needle and turn my hat inside out so that I can, okay, so there's my seam, and I'm going to pull it a little tighter so it's nice and tight. Okay, so turning it inside out. And now I'm just going to go around a little bit on the inside here to gather it up and kind of secure it in place. Now this is the underside, so you can feel free to kind of go around a little bit, not quite as particular about your stitches because they're going to be, like I said, on the inside and kind of hidden. So I like to kind of go around the inner circle and then come across a good few times. You want to make it nice and secure. You don't want your hat coming undone. Okay, now the tail end that I started with, I'm just going to tie a knot with that to secure everything. And I double knot it and trim with some scissors. And then you're going to just sew in any extra ends that you have throughout your hat. You just go around looking for anything that's a tail and sewing it in. So I've just got this other one to sew in, and I will get back with you. Okay guys, so here is the completed balaclava or ski mask. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you make one of your own, please let me know how yours turns out. So I enjoyed my time with you and hope to get together again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.